Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew, and I'm sorry I haven't got a special intro this week.
Well, I disagree.
No?
I think that intro was fine enough. I'm just setting the tone. You know, a little agree, disagree.
I did try and brainstorm a little bit earlier of like, what could I do as
Don't
my
do that,
intro
you can
this
hurt
week?
yourself.
But the only thing I kept coming back to is I think we need our own Power Ranger theme tune.
Okay. I think we need our own Power Rangers costumes.
Well, that I also thought like our new logo could just, or like maybe not a logo, but like our pod picture that we present to the world could be us in Power Rangers.
I was just going to say, if I got the outfits, would you be on board with it? Okay, but which Ranger do you want to be? Because I don't mind. I'll be any of them.
I mean, the dream, my favourite colour was always red.
Yeah.
But saying that, the White Ranger and the Green Ranger have a sick outfit as well. They got like that extra thing over the top.
Green Ranger was always the dopest when I was growing up.
I thought the white one was low key, like he was badass.
Yeah, he was pretty cool.
Yeah, or the Black Ranger, because what's that?
It's Wakanda forever.
Oh, of course it is.
You know.
Yeah, rippers to Chad Bowes.
I think we should let the viewers decide, the listeners decide.
What colour Ranger?
What colour Rangers we should be.
You know I'm going to be made pink. One of us is the Pink Ranger then, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we can recreate.
Maybe we're both the Pink Ranger. Is that the way forward?
Right.
We would be...
In the true world of equality.
We're bridging the gap, aren't we? We're doing work that no one else can do. We're bringing the gays involved. You know, we're allies. Not like Jordan Henderson.
No, would you sell those principles for 700 grand a week though? Because we had this conversation.
Well, we did, and it's funny. Me and Leanne were discussing it. I think literally yesterday, and I said to her like, I got to be honest. If I was offered that sort of money, I'd find it difficult to turn it down. And she was like, "But you were like literally willing to live and die on the Qatar World Cup thing." She was like, "So to them,
very funny. Like, that is very funny."
And I was like, "You're right."
But this is money to me.
Yeah, and I was like, Jordan Henderson's already earning 200 grand a week, so the guy's not hard up.
No, this is the thing about these footballers. Like, they're not poor people.
No.
And people talk about, they're going for their payday for their families. And like, bro, they earn in a year
what we'll never...
more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime.
Well, what Jordan Henderson earns in 1 week would take me 10 years.
Yeah.
So
you think over the course of a year,
yeah.
Exactly, they earn more than a family could feasibly hope to achieve. So they're not poor people. Like, they're not hard up people.
It is generational wealth, and the big thing I keep seeing people defending people like Jordan Henderson with, that this is more than he's ever earned in his entire career. And I get that argument, but he's also earned a huge amount already and will be set for life. I get it for sort of some players. I can't remember who it was, but like they were on probably 40, 50 grand a week was probably the most they were ever on, and they were then offered 400 to go play in Saudi Arabia.
The Saudi Arabia football thing, I know we seem to mention it every week because it's such a big thing at the moment in our lives.
Well, it's constantly evolving, isn't it?
It's really well timed to mention it today, though, because I nearly hit a child today, and I think you'll understand why. You'll feel justified. I was walking down the street.
I'm just going to stop you for a second. This won't help your image when it comes to children, but please continue.
No. Hitting kids and fiddling kids are like very different.
What sound bite should I have prepared? Do I need drums?
You know what you need. Do you know what you need?
What?
In all seriousness, you need Helen Lovejoy and The Simpsons. Well, somebody think of the children.
Well, I don't have that. Sadly, that's not one I have prepared.
What happened was I was walking down the high street, the local high street, and I saw a kid wearing an Al Nassr. I assume it's Al Nassr. I've only seen it in clips from like a handful of things. I've heard people
saying this, that they're seeing kids in...
Not a shirt, a kit.
Yeah.
A full-blown fucking kit. And do you know what? I think that's okay to hit a child then, isn't it?
I'm not sure, bro.
Someone I know said they were just got back
Where would you even get it from?
Well, someone I know just said they just got back from Mallorca and they're all over the place in like the rip-off shops.
Is that because that's Ronaldo?
Because it's Ronaldo, yeah.
Right, okay. I saw, like, I don't say I get it, but I've seen it happen a lot.
No, you get it. I could hit the kid.
No, I don't think you can hit the kid.
I disagree.
I blame the parents. You should be allowed to smack his mum.
I cannot hit the child. I can hit his mum. That's the compromise.
Or his dad, because his dad should be...
He was with his mum. I can smack the shit out of his mum.
That doesn't help my image of misogyny at all, does
No,
it?
I've been like, I'm going to hit this kid. And you're like, no. Hit the woman, please. Not the children, just the women.
Well, I guess she's slightly less vulnerable than the child. Do you know what I mean?
With me coming at her.
Depends how big she is. She might be a big lass.
Big enough to take a slap down.
Yeah.
If she's letting her kid wear a fucking
But like,
gown or
I remember
kit.
being on a family holiday when I was younger. I can't remember where we went, but it was in Spain. I just don't remember where. It might have been Menorca or something like that. And it was around
Rio.
and it was, I have no idea. And it was around the time when David Beckham had a football boot kicked at his head by Sir Alex.
Oh, yeah.
And then literally we got there at the start of the holiday and there were these two twins staying at the hotel, both wearing Man United shirts with Beckham on the back. And by the end of the week, he joined Real Madrid and they were wearing Real Madrid shirts with Beckham on. Oh, shit, you not?
No, come on.
Yeah.
Shall we use that as a segue, though?
Please do.
Can you hit those children in those circumstances? No, not can you, sorry.
I remember laughing.
You should be able to hit children in those circumstances. Agree or disagree?
In any, what, in
Do
that
you know what the fact you thought about it, though? It's quite telling.
In that circumstance or in any circumstance?
In those kinds of circumstance.
What, the lack of loyalty being
The
displayed?
lack of loyalty, the shamelessness of it, yeah.
But they're also a kid, man.
That's why I'm
if
teaching
that was a
them.
30-year-old man, you could smack the 30-year-old man because it's just ridiculous. Although it is a sort of thing for people to wear lots of football shirts now. I was mocked for it at a younger age. So you're saying you would have liked to have smacked me when I was younger, basically?
But you never change shirts based on a player.
No, I sort of just had I liked certain football clubs, or like my mum was born in Fulham, so I sort of followed Fulham when I was younger. But my dad was born in Pompey, so I sort of liked Portsmouth for a bit. We had a connection to Hull City at one point.
We learned all these things: a naval man and a posh woman. Yeah.
My dad wasn't a naval man; he was a Navy kid.
That's close enough.
Lived in Singapore at one point.
Close enough.
Yeah. His dad was a seaman. Yeah. See, I know the lingo.
Yeah, no, you're all on it.
Yeah. And I love being in tight, cramped spaces with lots of other men.
You'd have lots to talk about with Penny Mordaunt if you ever went on a date.
Would I? What, is she a big fan of seamen?
Nah, that's a trap. Oh, but she was like fake Navy leader, wasn't she?
Was she?
Or something. Yeah, well, it was like a big thing. She was in the reserves. She was in the naval reserves.
You know what I love? I was having a discussion with my family about this isn't what we're here to talk about at all.
Not even a little bit. I like the intros that go on though.
Yeah, that we just ramble for a bit and then we get down to business.
Stephen.
Yeah, and this will be very on brand because I'm going to talk about the Tories. And me and my family were like, so when they lose, who do they turn to? And we were like going through the options. Like it's probably either going to be Braverman or Mordaunt, and it's going to be Braverman because she's the right wing of the Conservative Party, but Mordaunt because she carried a sword well.
It's going to be Mordaunt because she carried a sword well.
Yeah. But she did. She stayed it.
I mean,
she carried that sword incredibly well.
She could have actually slayed the king.
Yeah. I mean, she did slay a queen. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. But she did. She looked phenomenal. She did a good job. I mean, I would have struggled carrying a sword for that long.
Well, I've seen you carry a sword 24/7, baby.
That's just attached
24/7.
And I just have to strap that in.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the back problems you must have.
I do, as you know. I've been struggling with back pain recently.
I mean, your leg muscles must be huge just for carrying that weight.
They are.
I know it. I know it. I felt it.
And the thing is,
I just think I'm hitting the gym, bro, so I can lift it again.
Mate, if you get to a stage where you can squat me, I'll be impressed. Do you know what I mean?
If I get to a stage where I can squat the sword.
Just the sword?
Just the sword.
No, I want you to carry all of me.
It's a big ask.
I want to be the little spoon.
You can be the little. You can be my little spoon.
Carry me. Do you know what I mean? Just keep me safe.
I will always keep you safe.
I hope so.
Unless, as has been proven in the past, someone offers me a free taxi ride home.
And then
I'm all out.
You'll leave me in any situation.
I'm outie, baby.
Yeah.
But up until that moment.
It's a very low bar of escape, isn't it?
Until that moment.
Do you just fancy a lift, mate? I'd love one.
Yes. Walking is not for me right now.
Poor Ash was never the same after that.
No, I think it was the lack of loyalty that he was struck by.
And we both did it to him, to be fair. Like, I remember him looking me in the eyes and just being like, help me. And I was just like, you'll be fine.
He asked me before the start of the night and I was like, bro, I got you. And I was there right through until literally that one person said, I'm going to get a taxi. We're going past yours. Do you want a lift? On me kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, bye.
Mine was, I was with Ash when it was about to go down.
Yeah, you were there all the way to the end.
But the thing is, bro, sometimes you just got to let people fly and
you got to let people make their own mistakes, you know?
Yeah. And I would say he's learned from it.
I mean, we are now just retrospectively
Rewriting history.
Yeah, we're sort of retrospectively saying...
Excusing ourselves.
Yeah, we weren't that bad.
Yeah, if anything, we're justifying our actions.
If anything, we were heroes.
Did the right thing.
Yeah. I wouldn't go as far as say heroes.
I would say it was very altruistic of us to do what we did.
Yeah. Well, we were all about his betterment.
Yeah. And I think that was what was achieved.
I think so.
Yeah.
Living his best life
He's made
now.
better choices since.
God, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we did the right thing.
I agree.
And I got a free ride home.
Yeah. Doing the right thing, I guess, is sort of what we're here to talk about. Sort of, kind of, maybe. It's not, but it feels like a segue.
I do it. I mean, hit the button and do it.
Oh, Jesus. Why'd you do this? We're here to continue a part of one of the last episodes. We tried out a new segment, which was overrated, underrated, and we're bringing it back.
Can I start?
Please.
Overrated, underrated. The schlong.
Massively underrated. Massively underrated.
Your schlong.
But that's because I've just not shared it enough with the world, and I've been very selective.
You've kept it. You've been. What's that video? Get that clip of that video game where some kids are like, in some chat with a guy, and they're like, "Oh, he's like,
what's going on under the table?
I'm so sorry.
Did you just unlatch the table?
Accidentally, I might have.
For a second, I thought that was your belt or your dick.
No, but there's this.
I thought Jay's dick just smacked up against the
There's
table.
this clip, right, where the guy's like, they're playing some video game, and the kids are like, "Oh, you're gay," and he's like, "Hey, I ain't gay, but $20 is $20," and whatever. They're like, "Oh, you admit it?" Oh, and then at someone he was like, it somehow got onto him being like, "Oh, he's like, this guy was properly winding these kids up. He's like, you guys are being selfish right now. You got all that big dick. You're not going to share it." And I feel like that applies to you. You got that big dick. You're not going to share it.
I've given the world enough.
Okay, I have genuinely got some overrated. I've got two lots of things here. I've got agree, disagree.
Cool.
And I've got some overrated, underrated.
Right.
So I'm going to start with the overrated, underrated.
The overrated, underrated. So we sticking to the same parameters as last time. We have to pick a position and stick to it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Chocolate pieces in ice cream.
That's a tough one. Because sometimes it depends on the size of the chocolate chunks, right? Because if they're too big and they're too frozen, it's awful. Because you don't want to have to bite into it and it takes ages to melt in your mouth. But if they're the right size, you almost don't even know they're there. They almost melt in your mouth immediately. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But overrated.
I
prefer less chocolatey ice cream.
I think overrated. I like a smoother ice cream.
Yeah.
I don't mind chocolate chunk. Like you said, it's sometimes the consistency is just not quite right. Like you said, it freezes at a different rate as the actual ice cream. So I'm sort of with you on that.
On ice cream front, I'm more of a caramel sort of man. But then saying that, if anyone goes to the Harvester, if you don't have a Rocky Horror ice cream sundae, you're on the wrong planet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, also, you can just put stuff on ice cream.
Yeah. Doesn't always have to be mixed in.
No. But I think people make a big deal out of it, the chunks.
The best ice cream I've ever had in my life was this Cornish clotted cream. I can't remember what the company was called. It was in a Budgeons, but it was like luxury ice cream.
Yeah.
But it was mint chocolate.
Okay.
Mate, honestly, it's the best ice cream I've ever had in my life.
For me, the king of the ice cream is the Mr. Whippy.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you go to a Toby Carvery, you just get a sundae there. Oh, it's naughty.
Yeah.
It's proper ice cream. I don't even know what it's made out of. It doesn't seem right. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel natural, but it's fucking
It's nice
good.
to agree on a food one, but we're off and running.
Yeah. What else you got for me?
You want me to go? I've got another food one. Do you want me to stay on this one?
I'll tell you what, while we're on brand, I mentioned Toby Carvery.
Yeah.
Toby Carvery. That's on my list.
Oh, this is going to be
it's a very British
It's a very
thing.
tough one. Do you want to explain to our American audiences what a Toby Carvery is?
Yeah, so a Toby Carvery is basically a place you go to have a roast dinner. They have a selection of meats, usually gammon, turkey, and beef and pork. And they then have a selection of veg, which you help yourself to. But
yeah, the meats you get served. The
meats
meat is
are
a
served
limited serving.
Yeah, you get given maybe 3 or 4 slices of the meat.
And
but the veg is all you can eat. You can go back, you get a Yorkshire pudding. They now do stuff like mac and cheese, so they sort of Americanised it a little bit.
Disgusting in a roast. Absolutely
mate,
filthy.
no, legit, with a bit of gammon. Oh,
But
naughty.
I used to, do you know what, when they do their meats and they're like really thin meats? I used to actually, when we were in, do you remember school dinners used to have really thin meats?
Yeah.
I used to really like them when I was in like primary school and stuff.
School dinners, the sponge puddings.
Oh my God, they were the best. They were so fucking good.
Sponge puddings on the planet.
Just this big ass baked tray, like about the size of this table.
If you wanted to buy one, you couldn't find one.
No, about the size of this table.
Yeah.
Just in a in a tray bake.
With like a light, it could be one that's a light layer of icing on the top.
Yeah, little sprinkles.
Or sprinkles, or chocolate, or candy.
Oh
it
my
could be
God,
anything.
yes, and the chocolate ones. Oh, fucking.
It's naughty.
So good. But back to the Toby Carvery. See, the thing that's really swaying me here is two things. One, the limited meats. Now, don't get me wrong, it's quite filling.
And to be honest with you, I think the king size plates that they do are a rip off. You get like a couple of little sausages.
It's not. You don't really get that much more.
And I think you maybe get like one and maybe two slices.
You don't get that much more for your money at all.
No.
And they're good. But I've been very lucky in my life that the two sort of matriarchs in my life,
are the best,
or two of the three,
roast
potatoes. My nan and my mum have both mastered the roast potato.
Right.
So for me, and I know obviously it's my mum, like I'm always going to be biased.
Yeah.
My mum's roasts are just the best.
No, but there's definitely something about if you've grown up with something that is like goated in your head.
But
so like
my nan's as well.
My dad's roast dinner is the best roast dinner I've ever had, and nothing will ever.
The roasties were just perfectly crispy on the outside, perfectly fluffy on the inside, and it was just heaven in your mouth. And you don't get that at Toby Carvery.
I think for me, the reason I love Toby Carvery, I nearly said a Kobe Tarvery.
Wait till we get to some of the other ones on the list.
Is the gammon. Like, gammon's my favourite roast meat. I'd have it at Christmas instead of turkey.
I don't mind a gammon.
And the way they do it's just gorgeous. And so for that alone, they're just not too often, but every now and again.
I'm going to come down on
I think it's underrated. I'm
going to say overrated.
I think you're right.
Now, we've said this before in the last episode, which you can go back and find in all good podcast places.
Yeah.
For me,
I've got my fist clenched unintentionally.
Overrated, underrated. It doesn't mean good or bad. Like a Toby Carvery is still good. It's still a treat.
Solid nosh.
But I think sometimes in our culture, in Britain, it's made quite a big, it's like, I have a carvery. Yeah, go to. I think it's just made a little bit too much a deal out of, too big a deal out of.
I just feel
that
like
just tips it into the overrated.
For the value that you get.
It's good value.
Like, it's not expensive. It's like a tenner per person, which
it was,
currently, it's probably going to be like,
creeping
£12 a person now, which still, for me, for what you get, and all, you can keep going back.
I still like it, and they're still good. I'm not saying I don't like them.
I think it's underrated. I don't think people talk about carveries enough.
We're talking about the public perception of them.
And I want to change that here and now. Every episode, we need to have another segment, which is Carvery Watch.
Just Carvery Watch.
Overrated.
Do you know what I've been watching? I don't know why, but I just got into. I used to really love TV Burp.
Is that the
Harry Hill thing?
I never liked it. I just didn't like that style of comedy. It just makes
there's some
cringe.
bits of it that I'm not a massive fan of, but for me, the moments when they introduce the new celebrity special guest or whatever, and it cuts back to him, and he just turns a little bit to the side of the camera and goes, this.
They're not here.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
That was just one of the reactions.
I think because I sort of grew up with my parents watching comedians like Billy Connolly in particular. I love that.
Great.
Aye. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really good Billy Connolly. That was a good Billy Connolly.
That's all I can do.
You could shake. That'd do it now. That's a bit cruel, isn't it? That's a bit. That's crossing the line.
He'd find that funny though.
He probably would
find that funny. But I sort of grew up with that style of comedy. Robin Williams. So I think I grew up more liking that, and just Harry Hill felt very childlike humour. And that probably sounds very harsh, but it was very slapstick. I guess is probably the best.
There are slapstick elements, but there's also very that kind of dry stuff when he's just it's our new step. He's like,
in fairness, I probably never watched it enough. But yeah, it just didn't never.
But what I've noticed rewatching on YouTube is that he has plugged on 3 or 4. I've not watched all of them. There's 14 series of them or whatever. But every now and then he would just do a plug for Harvester, and he would just turn to the camera and be like, every free meal comes with free use of the salad bar, and early bird specials which run from now to now, and then just carries on as if nothing's happened. And I just adore it, and I just think we could definitely plug Toby Carvery's, and just see if maybe something comes our way. I mean, look, we've been quite desperate with trying to get sponsorships.
I don't know,
and we've burnt a lot of bridges.
The family-friendly brand of Toby Carvery every one of our YouTube videos, I have to tick the box that says not suitable for children. So I feel like when you do that, you limit what companies want to work with you.
Just a little bit something. Just a Yorkshire or two.
Especially you're talking about smacking children and other things.
In an Al-Nasir kit. And not just a shirt, a kit.
So what if,
and I'm sorry, if we were in a Toby Carvery...
Is that what your problem was?
If we were in a Toby Carvery...
Was the child white, Jake?
Yes, the child was white. If we were in a Toby Carvery...
That could have just been a poor refugee walking about the streets and been given an Al-Nasir kit.
And a kid was up
and
at the table...
to backhand the little
asking
guy.
The chef... for like
that poor refugee came here on a dinghy
with his Al-Nasir kit. I think the chef's well within his right to just slap him in the face with the meat.
Wow, that's how you want to treat refugees. You've got more in common with Rishi Sunak every day.
They've got to adapt to our culture. They've got to support our teams.
The wealth, the inequality.
They've got to come here and support Rochdale. I don't make the rules.
Hatred of foreigners.
I don't make the rules. Okay, they're just the rules.
Them.
They're just the rules. They've got to come here and adapt to our way of life. No, I'm sorry.
So yeah, answering your question,
one gave a
I
shit
think
about
Toby Carvery would absolutely be up for backing. Look, I would advertise Toby Carvery. I would, if they did a black card, Jake.
Oh, I want the Nando's black card. I don't even think they do it anymore.
No, I don't want the Nando's black card. I'd never use it.
I just want free food somewhere. I don't know what that's so hard to like. And when I say free food, I don't mean nicking it. I don't mean dining and dashing.
Black card would be fucking low key.
That'd be good.
Because the great thing about the Harvester, right, and they're not even on my list, is the selection of products. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have ribs, you can have
my God,
chicken,
their ribs are so good. Ribs and chicken combination is just top dog.
Every time. Well, not every time.
And you've got to be careful that you don't fill up on the salad bar, because the salad bar's good. The pasta at the salad bar
is lovely.
Oh, it's so good.
The red devil sauce.
And the little rolls.
Oh, mate.
And then the desserts are good.
You're just making me hungry.
We should go to Harvest. We should go to Harvest after this.
Oh, mate.
Okay.
Was that on your list? Is that what?
No, that is not on the list. No, just because I've said Harry Hill promotes Harvester, and now we're promoting Harvester.
I'd happily be the face of Harvester.
Right. You ready for another underrated, overrated?
But if they told me to cut you off, I probably would.
Well, we could do it like I could be the Mike Wazowski of the promotional campaign.
What? Just sort
stickers
of
on my face. You know, every single promotion will stick it over my one eye.
Yeah.
Though we definitely wouldn't be allowed in a public space with posters if I'm getting my one eye out.
Wow.
Either side. Do you know what I mean? Front or back. It doesn't matter which way you read that. That's not going well.
I know what one-eyed monster I want to see.
Not on a post, though. Not on a bus stop. There's got to be limits.
I'd appreciate.
Because that's at like eye height for kids.
That's very true. It's quite aggressive, then, isn't it?
And it's at eye height for anyone in a wheelchair. It's just not very friendly.
Your favourite?
Have this. Underrated, overrated. You ready?
Yeah.
My last overrated, underrated with food. Leftover pizza for breakfast.
I feel like it's rated, Like, everyone. Don't most people do it? Like, some people don't.
Yeah, a lot of people I've spoken to kind of don't. They look at me like I'm a bit weird when I'm like, I love saving a couple of slices for
Do you heat
breakfast.
It up the next day?
No.
No,
I just have it cold. Cold in the
morning.
morning.
My mum reheats it. But I'm quite happy to eat it cold.
See, why is that weirder? That's weirder, right?
Yeah, and she actually microwaved it the other day, and I was like, that's just...
It's weird, isn't it?
She's like, if you put it back in the oven, it goes too crisp. So she's like, I just put it in
I love your mum, but...
Yeah, it's
weird behaviour.
It's wrong in behaviour.
I don't know why. I can't describe why it's wrong.
No, like, we've talked about it before. Like, some things just feel...
You get a vibe.
Like, when you asked me, was cereal a soup? And I was like, I might have asked you that. It's like, no, because it's just not, is it?
You just know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like, is mini cheddars a crisp or a biscuit? It's obviously crisps.
I know you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to work. So you're saying underrated.
Yeah.
No, sorry, overrated. You're saying overrated.
No, I think it's just rated. I think it's I think it's known that pizza the next day. I
think it's a little underrated. I'm edging towards underrated.
Joey used to sing wax lyrical about it. Like, he knew how old a pizza was just by the bite of it. Do you know what I mean?
That's true, and that's a good man to judge your pizzas on.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, we move on. I've got it.
Fish and chips.
Overrated.
I think I agree with you.
I don't mind fish and chips. Now, chip shop chips
They're good.
They're great.
Yeah.
I love a chip shop chip.
With some curry sauce or a gravy.
But I I don't tend to get fish and chips if I go to the chippy.
And I think it's too expensive now.
I get battered sausage or pie or both. No, that's a lie. I get both. But
yeah, is that your go-to order, a pie and a sausage? What
and
pie are we
chips.
normally going for?
Normally chicken and mushroom.
Fair.
Battered
Going for
sausage.
different meats.
And
Always a battered
chips.
sausage. Would you just get a
Oh,
plain
always
one?
a battered sausage. I love a battered sausage. I love a battered sausage.
I've heard.
Read into that what you will. Yeah, there's your clip. There's
I'm
your
a
trailer.
two-sausage man myself, which won't shock you.
No. What's your order?
Normally it'd be chips, curry sauce, and 2 sausages, and maybe it might be a battered sausage and a normal sausage, or a battered sausage and a Savoy, but never 2 battered sausages.
You can't go wrong with it. But yeah, I agree, and I think.
But I do think it's overrated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually enjoy the fish from a fish and chips
The
normally.
thing is, the batter's good and whatever, but white fish is white fish. It very
It's
rarely
quite
tastes of
bland.
anything else.
Yeah, I don't
I've
like
had some really
vinegar.
nice ones in the past, but it's the marinade that it's in.
Okay.
You can't just and unfortunately, they don't really. They might season it with a bit of salt and pepper when they cook it.
But
But they
I
don't
doubt
really
they
marinate it. No.
I don't think it's strong enough to take a marinating. Do you know what I
No.
mean?
So for me, yeah, overrated. I'm with you on that.
Done. It's in the bin.
It's in the bin. Right, shall I move on to another? These are non-food overrated, underrated
Cool.
now. Staycations.
Overrated. I mean, no. All right, I'm going to stick with that. They're overrated because it's too expensive. Quite a lot of the time, it's cheaper to go abroad than it is to.
Oh
go
god, yeah,
somewhere in
like
this
a week
country.
abroad, flights, hotels, spending money is often cheaper
Yeah,
than it is to do a week in the UK.
yeah. Like just to do a weekend in a seaside town during the school holidays.
Couple £100.
For 2 nights at a weekend, £500.
And you're looking at obviously getting down there.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are, that could be a bit tricky. For us, it's down to Brighton.
Yeah, it's not far. By car, it's about 45 minutes.
Yeah, but driving's all right.
Yeah, but
Petrol, it's not that
by
bad.
train,
Half,
it's probably just under an hour still, I would say.
Yeah, it is. I think it is like 50 minutes from.
Yeah. So it's not too bad, but yeah, but then if you want to go somewhere like Centre Parks, as we've joked in the past,
Oh my
you
God,
need to
yeah.
remortgage your home.
Yeah, they're
Or
ridiculously
be
expensive.
A banker, basically. And we have beautiful. I've had some really nice trips in this
I had
country.
some lovely
Don't make me wrong.
staycations, and I would continue to have them. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
but
I wouldn't
think
do
you
them.
have to be very choosy about what you do, and you need to do it. Like stag do's are sort of a good way to do it in a way because they tend to be a package deal. They're a bit cheaper. Whereas, if you just choose, I want to go to Cardiff and I want to stay in this hotel.
We need to start subliminally messaging our friends to get them married off, because right now, there's quite a few in long-term relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
We need to get married, yourself included, because I
I
need
know.
stag
The
do's.
problem is, bro, it's cost of living, man.
I need a stag do.
Man can't afford a wedding and a place. Do you know what I mean?
Do I look like I give a shit about you?
Well, get your parents
no.
to open up their wealth to the friends and family.
So you just missed our charitable event of the year.
Oh shit!
So
I
sorry,
know.
just missed
Typical,
out.
isn't
Just
it?
missed out.
Shit. By how far? Even just. A
Oh
day.
God, days,
Yeah.
minutes.
Just under the wire, sadly.
Yeah.
Typical.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But staycations,
Overrated.
I'm
They're
a bit
good.
inclined to go underrated, because I do think some people dismiss them because of the expense. But actually, if you go to some of the less touristy places,
Yeah.
you can actually get better deals. It is still expensive, but you can get better deals.
Yeah, but also if you're someone who can't drive, it's more difficult because
yeah.
train fares make it unrealistic.
Whereas if you're going to Benidorm, that's not a problem.
Like if you want to go London to Leeds, you're looking at a couple of £100 for the train fare.
And yeah, and like you said, you can go to Benidorm and back for £80.
Yeah. So sadly, I think because of how it's priced, it has to be overrated.
I understand that. I think I'm going to stick with underrated.
And I've
But I
had some
completely
amazing
understand
trips
the
in this
overrated.
country. But yeah. No, it's in the bin for me.
That's a bit of a jump.
Speaking of
Bins,
jumps, Tay-Tay.
that's a hell of a jump. Tay-Tay.
No, that's not speaking of bins. That's quite harsh. I think she's overrated.
Overrated. But I would say this.
Look, what I would preface this with, because I don't want Tay-Tay fans coming after me.
Fuck
she
them, I'm here.
is
Let them come.
Clearly talented. She clearly has a talent for writing songs at times. I would say some of her stuff's a bit not to my taste, I guess. But some of her songs can be really good. But I think in terms of how big everyone else thinks she is, I think she's overrated, personally.
She's a bit like Harry Styles or something, in the sense that her fans are so devoted
Yeah.
and so hardcore no one can live up to that, the pedestal they put her on. So because of that, she's overrated. But I like Taylor Swift.
I know you
I'm
do,
a big
which is
fan
why
of
I
Taylor
put her on the
Swift.
list.
There was a period, and I couldn't tell you like the album to album because I'm not a super fan.
No.
But there was
What's
definitely...
the name of her fan base? The
Swifties, yeah.
Okay.
But there was definitely a period. Do you know her concert recently in Seattle, I think? Or...
Yeah, I streamed it online.
No, but it recorded seismic activity.
What, because of all the stamping?
Because of all the noise and the clapping and whatever.
It's just absurd.
But for me, there was a period where she went and her singles were just really bland.
Okay.
Like they were overproduced 1 chord, 2 chord songs that just never went anywhere. And I was like, I can't believe, from someone who's given us...
I think her earlier stuff, from what I've heard, is better.
From someone who gave us like the 1989 album,
yeah,
or the Red album, you can't be putting out some of this, and I'm going to say it and let the Swifties come at me, you can't be putting out some of this crap.
Yeah.
And being like, oh no, this is...
The thing is, though, it happens to all artists, don't they?
Yeah,
they
you have ups and
phase
downs. You have
where
ups and downs.
Like, I would say, still need to listen to the most recent Foo Fighters album, but the ones from Echo, Silence, Patience and Grace, which was probably the last really good album they did, after that have been, I guess, more of just, we're doing what we want to do.
I recently, was so obsessed with one of the songs, it was so in my head from the latest album that Under You.
No, I haven't listened to
You haven't heard any of
them.
So I went out and I looked it up. I was like, I need to know that little riff. I need to know the chords. I was like, I need to sit and play this song.
Yeah.
And I did.
Did you manage it?
Yeah.
Good lad.
Please.
Obviously. Talented man.
Thankfully, it's very easy. Thank you, Dave.
See, if I knew how to play guitar, I'd learn Smooth by Santana. It's one of the sexiest
yeah, I know
songs. That. Can you do it?
I would have
even
to
the
look,
solos.
I would have to look it up because I forget it.
Yeah.
But I have done it. I have sat down and done it.
That would get a girl's knickers off.
It hasn't. Apparently, she wasn't. When I had to like pull it out on my phone and look it up, no, she wasn't that. She wasn't that into it.
No, look, it doesn't. The effect of Santana on stage, like off heart, knowing every inch of that song, and you being like, "Wait there 1 second, Google, let me get the tune around."
D.
And then like with no confidence, just going, dun, 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 dun. That's nothing. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't work.
Have you
need to embody Santana.
Because I need to ask this, because I've gone through a thing in my head, guitar players, through to, I was watching the thing on Rob Reiner the other day.
Is in Judge Rinder?
No, as in the director, American filmmaker.
Right.
And have you seen,
Judge Rinder.
And I'm sure we might have spoken about this before, have you seen Spinal Tap?
No.
Oh my God.
Is that Turn the Dial Up to 11?
That's like the most famous clip, and that's the clip when he's like, and you know what? It's some of the best acting when he's like, because when you're not playing on 10, and then you want to go a bit louder, and you just turn it up to 11, don't you? And most amps they go to 10, but ads go to 11. And when Rob Reiner, the director, as this fictitious filmmaker, goes, "Couldn't you just make 10 louder?" Just the look on the guy's face when he's like, well, ours go to 11.
Yeah.
And it's just an absolutely beautiful... But the whole film is littered with, honestly, watch it.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. Okay, you ready?
Please.
Underrated, overrated. Sporks.
Sporks.
The spork.
Spoon forks.
Yeah.
Are they overrated or underrated?
Yeah.
I don't know.
As a kitchen utensil, as a cutlery.
I mean, overrated, they're useless. They're not good enough as a fork and they're not good enough as a spoon. They're completely inadequate and they should be erased from all existence. We do wooden ones at work for the salad bar and I'm like, what are you doing to people? Like, it's horrendous. Give them either a spoon
It come with
or
the pasta
a fork.
as well sometimes.
Not try and combine the two. It's cheap, it's disgusting and it makes me sick.
Oh, for me, it's synonymous with KFC.
What, with the beans or your coleslaw or... Yeah,
with
again,
the beans,
but it doesn't help with anything. It doesn't get the beans out properly because it doesn't have the curved tip of a spoon.
What I would do,
and a fork would be equally as useless.
You stab a bit of like popcorn chicken with it, and you kind of scoop some of the beans, so you got the popcorn on the fork.
It would be better if that was a fork because they fucking fall off when you dip them in your gravy.
But
makes me sick. Jay.
I'm with you. I think they're overrated.
Makes me sick.
But
I never thought I had such a strong opinion on
it's very
sports.
surprising.
Now you've brought it out in me.
Comes a great shock.
I want them gone.
Yeah, not just like I don't like them. It's I want them erased
Just a
from the earth.
spoon would be better in any situation than a
No,
spork.
because you can't stab someone with a spoon. No, you can't stab
Why
your.
do you want to stab someone with a
can't-
spork?
You can't stab the meat with the.
No, but like,
or
for example,
chip.
your example was chicken popcorn.
Yeah.
Put a couple on the spoon, dip it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Bob's your uncle.
What about a long
Harry's your
chip? You
father.
can't do that with a long chip. You have
Yeah,
to
you
balance
can.
it. You're going to fall off.
Yeah, you can.
It's going to fall off.
Stop being a little
You've
bitch.
just got a little
Or
sport. Bang.
give us a fork as well. Stop being cheap.
You don't want to sit there eating KFC with a, fork.
Well, you're not
going to
do it for everything. Most of the KFC you eat with your hands anyway.
I'm just
Stop
playing
trying to
devil's
defend the
advocate
sport.
here. I'm just trying to
Sick fuck.
bring out
Go
these
back to wanting to
passions.
smack children.
You're so good at riling me up. I just want to
You
evoke
just have
some
to
of these
mention
passions a little
sporks.
bit far. Yeah, I'm just going to now.
Sporks are gone.
I'm going to bring sporks.
The Rock.
What, the Dwayne The
Yeah.
Rock Johnson?
Dwayne The Rock
Oh,
Johnson.
fucking overrated.
What about... Can we separate him as an actor from a wrestler? Because as a wrestler, he was absolutely phenomenal. I grew up watching the Attitude Era of...
Yeah, I was a big fan of him as a wrestler, but I would
WWE.
still say overrated because he's not done anything that a lot of the other guys haven't done.
I think he's done a few good films, though.
Oh, he's been in good films. Like
For me, his first film, it wasn't his first starring role as
Yeah.
the lead, Welcome to the Jungle.
and that Walk
with
Tall,
Christopher
I quite
Walken.
liked.
Yeah.
And no, he's been in good films, but my issue with The Rock, and he comes across as a really nice guy.
dirty as well.
Did he?
Proper dirty.
Oh, what in the
Brendan
Mummy, in the Scorpion
Well,
Mummy
like
thing?
literally, he gave him his first ever movie role. No one wanted him in it, and Brendan was like, "No, give him a go." And then it came time to do another Journey to the Middle of the Earth film, and Brendan Fraser, I think, had done at least 2 at that point, and The Rock stole it from him.
Well, this is my issue with The Rock, and I'm going to lay it down for you right now. So see if you can smell what The Rock is cooking, because I can smell what The Rock is cooking. A franchise-stealing motherfucker. That's what The Rock's cooking. Let me lay it down for you right now what happens with The Rock, okay? The Rock joins, sometimes not even a franchise, but often it is a franchise, or it's a franchise
It's
potential.
certainly how he started his career.
He starts on he comes in, side character. Then, before you know it, 1 or 2 things is happening.
There's a
One,
spin-off movie,
There's a spin-off movie. 2, his character gets bumped up to a
main
role. 3, in a lot of the cases, both. His character gets bumped up and
Isn't
he
that
gets a
because
spin-off.
he's good at what he does and he's popular? Like, he's
No, it's
box
'cause he's
office,
like,
isn't it?
I want to do it all about me and I want to be in the leading role. And he's a little rat. You look at this, right? I'm going on it.
Please do.
I'm going on it.
I'm loving this.
Okay.
Should we tag him in this in the clip?
Yeah, fuck. No, he seems like a nice guy. It's just my issues with his movies and his movie making. He, as a human being,
Good as Maui.
he comes across like a really nice
You're
person.
welcome.
Oh, why would you do that?
It's a great tune.
It's in my head now, you dick. Just when I'm about to slag him off.
Yeah, but anyway, please continue the rant.
Okay, what was I saying?
Stealing franchises, always ends up with a spin-off or as the leading role. And he steals shit from people.
Oh, he's a rat. That's what I was going to
He's
say.
a rat.
He's a rat. Because, okay, so he... there was this big thing with the Fast and Furious where
Yeah.
obviously he
Him and
supposedly
Vin
came to
Diesel
a head
fell
over
out.
Vin Diesel. And it kind of, he kind of was like, okay, I'm going to step away. You guys carry on the franchise. I'm going to do Black Adam. And I'm going to basically like revitalize, not
The
reboot,
DC universe.
revitalize the DC universe. And it's going to be I'm going to be like the face of it and I'm going to be a big part of it. That fucking flopped. I mean, not massively flopped, but
Mate, Piers Brosnan, we said it
he
before.
looks so good as Dr.
He
Fate.
was so good as
I still
Dr.
haven't
Fate.
seen it.
Have you not? It's
No.
worth watching.
Which is
it
mad for me
just
to
a
say,
bit of
right?
Piers Brosnan.
That's odd for me to say.
Normally it's me who's not seen something.
Especially a superhero thing.
Yeah. But like, I actually didn't think the film was that bad. The problem is, with the DC stuff, they just drop you in the middle of it and you're supposed to just
The one
buy
thing I
in.
would say with DC, through all their stuff, their cartoons are dope as fuck.
Yeah.
But with the DC live action stuff, their casting is fucking excellent.
Mm.
I can't fault any of the
I mean,
actors
he
they've
looks
put
good
to play.
as Black Adam and he suits the character, I think.
I can't fault every single one of them they've paid, from crackpot Zachary Levi in, as Shazam, through Henry Cavill. Ben Affleck got a lot of flack, but I really liked him as Batman.
Yeah, he's not
Gal
bad.
Gadot, Aquaman, obviously he's not like Jason Momoa is nothing like Arthur Curry in the comics,
But he's
fucking
good,
great in that role.
just because of who he is.
Their casting is just on point, but the films are just kind of shite.
Yeah, they're pretty dog shit.
So he was like, I'm going to go over, I'm going to be the face of DC. That movie flopped. And then guess what's happened? Suddenly, his character, he is going to be in the next Fast and Furious, actually. So he's not done with the franchise. He's coming back to it. And you know what?
Well, the check was big enough.
And they might try and make a...
Well, he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
He came in, right? Let's just use, before we move on.
Jumanji, he's taking Jumanji.
Let's just use the Fast and Furious as an example because it perfectly encapsulates what he does. Fast and Furious was 5 films deep when he came on board. He came in at number 5, so it's 4 films deep. So he came in at number 5.
Oh, wow. So he's been in a lot of them.
As a side character. Then he was bumped up a role in number 6, and then he's practically a star in number 7. Then there's also, he gets this spin-off, Hobbs and Shaw.
They do have good chemistry on the screen, though,
like I said.
Statham.
Then he leaves. He's not going to be the face of DC.
Yeah.
Not in this one, Fast X. Then he's come back because he's going to be in 11 and 12. It's just ridiculous.
He knows how to get the bag, though, bro.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, but just leave the bag alone and just let people make good films. Why have they got to be films with your face on them?
There is a conversation that gets had sometimes about that his image is almost fraudulent in terms of like, because when he was a wrestler at the peak of his young years, when he was his fittest, and he was half the size then that he is now.
Oh, the change is the same. Yeah, he's like proper dense.
Like, because you go from like his first couple of films like Scorpion King, he was more or less as he looked as a wrestler, same as Welcome to the Jungle, and then almost overnight he just doubled in size, and that seemed.
I think the first time I saw him like that was in the Fast 5.
I think you might be right.
And he just turned up,
just hench
bald.
as fuck.
Like that was the change, and he was like, "I need to take something to distract from the baldness, denseness. Yeah. I'm just going to be twice as wide now."
Yeah, but he looks fantastic, but he claims it's natural.
No, you don't.
And there's not a fitness expert on the planet that would say his size from what he was.
Because he would have been...
is either it's achievable but not sustainable. Because the level of work, like, he'd have to be working out constantly. And like, look, there's a thing like when you say people take steroids, that it's sort of a cheat. The amount of effort he has to work in to maintain that on steroids
is still
incredibly impressive. But yeah. There's a lot of people say that, and like he lies about it.
Where did you fall on Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Overrated, underrated?
I've got a soft spot for him, but I don't think he should be the highest paid actor in the world because I don't think he's done the best films in the world. But he brings in the numbers. But if you're talking about like acting ability to the level he's seen at,
you look at, with all due respect,
overrated.
You look at 2 actors who have made the swap from wrestler and, you know, they were the stars of the franchise into acting. John Cena, who's done a fantastic job. He generally only takes comedy roles. Yeah. And Batista, who's fucking killed it. His short cameo. And that's the thing. It's
and project. The thing is, it's not always gone great for Batista, though, has it? It's been up and down.
But it's choosing your project. Just my last thing on The Rock, right? Yeah. The Rock has turned down some decent roles because he's like, in my mind, obviously I don't know what his reasons were, but in my mind he turned down some decent roles because he's like, I can't make that about me. I can't do a spin-off. I can't make that thing.
I don't think also he's a serious actor, if you know what I mean. You look at like he's a blockbuster actor.
Yeah, but could
you put him, like, for example, I fell in love with Robert Downey Jr. the most watching a film called The Judge, like post Iron Man, because I genuinely got to see his acting range. Do you know what I mean?
If you put him as, like, for example, Batista did the role of the Bond villain, you know, the henchman.
Yeah.
Well, The Rock could have done that, and then he'd have been in a good film. But I don't think he would have because he couldn't make it about him because it's too small a role and it's not.
Yeah, but I think also he's too big for that role.
When he did Blade Runner 2049, the role is tiny. Yeah. But he's fantastic in it. And it gives him an opportunity to act and it gives him, you know, he took on, he was great in, I don't know if you ever saw Glass Onion.
Yeah.
He's great in that.
See, I think we agreed on the fact he's overrated. I don't think he's overrated because of who he wants to be as an actor. I think, just off of what he would be capable of doing on screen.
Okay, do you want another thinker?
Please do.
Overrated, underrated. Smartphones.
Overrated because of what they've done to society. Underrated in terms of
what you can get out of them.
Yeah, because I remember reading once that like the iPhone I'm holding up to camera right now is more powerful than the first computer that launched rockets or landed rockets on the moon.
Yeah.
Which to me, I can't compute that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, luckily your iPhone can.
Oh yeah, but like I can't wrap my head around that. That our technology advanced so quickly that we went from a hall filled with computers was one computer running that to this is capable of doing that. So it's underrated. I don't think we actually appreciate
what they can do and what they are,
and what we've achieved as
what they represent as a technology, a technological
and I don't think
advancement.
we've learnt the right lesson from that. So I think because of that, they're overrated, because we've completely misused the technology, in my opinion. Like, it gave us all of this technology, the ability, and it's sort of connected to the internet age of like complete connectivity. These give us the ability to contact anyone, anywhere on the planet, providing you have signal at any time, which is just incredible. But we completely misuse it and abuse it.
And you know what? I would say, I say overrated, because when you look at the people who've, I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I couldn't go back to life without it. I rely,
100%,
particularly the way I operate, as you know.
That's the thing. We've become completely dependent on it to the point where if you need to go somewhere, the first thing you would do is put it in your phone.
This thing tells me when to take my medication, because otherwise I will forget.
Yeah.
My medication, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But
before that, it would have just been Post-it notes everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is, they only work when you read them, and I don't read them. I'm like, oh, that's future.
I don't need to
that's
look
a
at
problem
that.
for future me. If I look at it, I've got to acknowledge
Whereas if it smacks you in the face.
But when you look at the people that have like given up and just gone, fuck it, I'm just going back to an old Nokia or whatever.
They're much happier.
They are so much happier. And I've got to be honest, for that reason and that reason alone.
Yeah, I think, and our dependency upon it in like raising our kids at times as well. Like for most people, and I completely get it, because kids are nightmares, like just putting a screen in front of them, and you see all parents doing it. And I would probably do the same, but we are completely dependent upon it.
A slightly less, before you give us a couple, let me give you a...
Speaking of smartphones, it's on brand. Steve Jobs.
What, overrated, underrated?
Yeah.
Overrated. He was a very good marketer. He was a very good salesman. But a lot of... And there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of the work that he did was took other things and improved upon them. Yeah, built them together on kind of... And obviously... The silent partner, quote unquote, Steve Wozniak did a lot of the heavy lifting as well. And I'm not saying Steve Jobs did nothing. Don't get me wrong.
And
he's the reason Apple is the brand it is.
Yeah, I've watched both the biopics about him. One had Ashton Kutcher in, and one had
Michael Fassbender.
That
was the Danny Boyle one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so completely different in approach and like the way they display some of the people that were in his lives. But like in both of them, I think he says something like, I play, like if you were to say to a conductor, what's your job? Because like you're not playing an instrument, they all are.
No, I
play the orchestra, they play the instruments, and that was how he saw
his role.
Was getting the best out of talented people. But he was horrendous at giving anyone credit. He was a horrendous human being when it came to being a parent. Like he famously did an article where he accused his ex of potentially having sex with 28 million Americans because he'd worked out an algorithm of because when he had a paternity test, because he was denying paternity, the court said you're like 96.7% likely to be the kid's father. So he then worked out a number from that percentage of like, well, then she could have potentially slept with that many men still.
Yeah, brilliant.
But then there was like these famous moments he had where like they gave him one of the, I think it might have even been the iPod, and he was like, it needs to be smaller. And they were like, it's physically not possible, Steve. The parts are as small as they can possibly be.
We are where we are with it.
And he picked it up, threw it in a fish tank, and air started bubbling to the surface. And he was like, do you see that air? That space? Make it smaller.
Yeah, which makes for a great moment in a film.
Yeah.
But if you're working under him, you're like, I'm going to kill this prick.
I think, and like the most famous thing was he never let any of his children have the devices he created. Like no iPads, no iPhones. He knew what they were. And all of it was about him. He wasn't, and like sometimes, like it's well documented, he wasn't a nice person. And for me, sometimes you can excuse a genius being a horrible person if it's for something. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it takes a horrible person to get a job done.
You mean like the iPod thing? to get it where it was, he had to be a dick.
Or to push people to create things they were saying were impossible. He had to be an arsehole to them to push it forward. But he admits in later life it was just down to technology wasn't moving fast enough to achieve the things he wanted to achieve. And ultimately, what was it he was trying to achieve? Just create some posh computers, basically.
Mm.
And was that worth mistreating God knows how many people along the way, like ignoring your own child just to achieve that? No, not really.
No.
So overrated.
Agreed. Here's a slightly easier one, I think. Slightly less sort of philosophical, slightly less deep, a little more shallow. Underrated, overrated. This is my last underrated, overrated.
Okay.
All my others are agree, disagrees. Waking up thinking it's time to get up, then realising you still have hours left and are sleepy enough to fall straight back asleep.
I would call that more of a simple pleasure. Do you know what I mean? That's just a nice little thing. I think it's quite rated. Everyone loves it.
I think it's one of the greatest joys in life, and therefore I don't think it can ever be rated enough. So it will always be underrated. So for me, underrated.
When I wake up too early, and then if you can't get back to sleep,
but that's why
feels like a curse.
That's why I've added specifically, and you're sleepy enough to get straight back to sleep.
Okay. Well then, fair enough. Underrated.
Because it's always good, right?
Yeah.
Hit me, man. I mean, I don't actually hit me, please.
Gavin and Stacey.
This is a tough one because I love Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Man, you're going for it.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
I would say it's underrated. And because I have a thing sometimes that if there's like a phenomenon going on and everyone's into it, that almost puts me off a little bit.
100%.
So like, when Gavin and Stacey was at its height, I had never seen it.
I mean, I was in from the beginning.
So I didn't start watching it until,
I was cool, man.
Like, I think after it finished even, potentially. And then I fell in love with it independent.
Because the characters are brilliant.
Yeah, the writing's brilliant, the acting's brilliant, all the cast is perfect.
I mean, I found myself the other day at work doing a Smithy and Nessa because the guys at work were talking about doing a barbecue, and I did the whole thing. I'm like, well, are we just doing like burgers and sausages? Are we doing this properly?
Yeah,
we're talking, prawns, chicken. Are we talking, are we really going for it here? And then as I was halfway through it, and I had no idea I was doing it, but halfway through I suddenly realised what I was doing. I was like, fuck me, I've become Nessa. Okay.
But I think it's difficult because I think it's loved. It's universally loved, Gavin and Stacey. You either haven't watched it or you love it. Normally,
very few people have watched it and not enjoyed it.
I think Ruth Jones is underrated as an actress and as a writer. I think James Corden got a lot of the accolades.
You think that's misogyny?
Yeah, 100%.
Sort of industry-led misogyny?
It has to be. The assumption would be I think because he's more, particularly at the time, the extroverted one out of the two of them, I think he just got
the credit.
And because he was, after Gavin and Stacey, probably the third biggest character, arguably. Particularly in terms of gags and screen
Without
time.
Gavin and Stacey, probably was, even if
So I think because of that, and I think people just assume the man's the genius out of the two of them.
I think it's tough for me. I think this is going to be a bit controversial. I think I'm going to say overrated.
Okay.
Because I do think sometimes people put so much on it. And it was big, and don't get me wrong, it was one of the big things that helped launch BBC Three as well.
Okay.
As a channel. So BBC Three was like this fresh new thing. It's like, we need new things, and we want to be fresh, and we want to be, hence why Gavin and Stacey got commissioned.
And they took a chance on Gavin and Stacey, didn't they?
Yeah, and so they were the ones that greenlit it, and within, a couple of months of it being aired, it was like, well, get that shit on BBC One, BBC Two, BBC Two. It's like, get that shit on BBC Two. Don't waste it away on the digital channels. Get that shit out there, because that's fucking good. But I do think, like I said, overrated doesn't necessarily mean bad. I still think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. I think that I'd like it if they left it alone. I wish they hadn't have done the most recent Christmas special. I liked it, but they sort of left it on a cliffhanger sort of thing, and then there's no news of anything happening. But then
COVID broke, didn't it?
I guess so. But like, other people got through COVID and filmed shit, so just stop being little bitches. The main block has been that James Corden's been abroad as well for a long time. But I sort of want them to leave it. I think it's good as it is. I mean, I disagree that it's overrated, but I can accept
why.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so now I've got some agrees and disagrees.
Go for it.
Okay.
So what have I got to do in this? Just whether I agree or disagree?
I'm going to read the statement and you say agree or disagree.
Women are intelligent.
Hot dogs and all hot food should not, but specifically hot dogs, should not be considered one of the staple or normal cinema foods.
It should.
It's out of place.
It's not out of place.
So you're saying disagree? I think it is.
I very much enjoyed a hot dog at the cinema. I actually don't think hot dogs are on enough menus when you go to places. Like, if you go to a bowling alley, I feel like that's applicable for
I
a
agree,
hot dog,
but a
they're
cinema,
not on the menu.
I don't want to smell your hot dog in the cinema.
Oh, yeah, you
I don't want to... I
Mate.
mean, your hot dog. It's so hard to avoid that aroma.
It's a musky scent.
It smells like masculinity.
Yeah, and just sex. No, I disagree. I think hot dogs are perfectly acceptable. What always used to bug me, though, was they never used to have any ready. Do you know what I mean? Like, they'd be
they've
like,
got to put
it's
them
going
on.
to be
Yeah,
10,
got,
15 minutes. It's like, what are you talking about? Why aren't they just sat in a nice pot of
just
bubbling
rolling
water?
Or just rolling,
Or
just on that
rolling.
machine, rolling round.
Yeah, and they're not doing it.
Because no one orders them because they shouldn't be there.
It's
That's
almost the same level for me as like, but I prefer popcorn at a cinema. Don't get me wrong.
Popcorn is the goat of this.
If I've got money to splash, I'm getting both. But the cinema I go to, there's an IKEA like spitting distance, and they do
Just
cheap hot dogs in there.
Yeah.
So if I fancy a hot dog, but yeah, I think no, I disagree. They should be in a cinema.
Go on, hit me with something.
Netflix.
Oh,
or streaming
overrated.
Services in general.
Overrated because of what they've become.
I would agree with all of them except for probably Disney, just because of the sheer volume of stuff on Disney. There's always
But then
something you
equally,
can find to watch.
they're currently trying not to pay their writers
that's
or their actors.
not ideal.
So fuck them.
That's not ideal. They did people like Scarlett Johansson dirty and Emily Stone. That's been going on for quite a while now.
Did you see the guy who played Lizzie McGuire's dad?
He got a check for zero, didn't he?
And that's not uncommon.
That's dick behaviour.
I mean, I know they're like automatically generated, but bro, someone had to print that out, put it in an envelope and send it off to you. At what point do you just go, this is fucking pointless? I know it's their check and it's their right to have it, but you're like, this is fucking ridiculous. What are we doing?
Yeah. Why not just send a letter saying you didn't
And Disney
earn any
currently,
residuals?
I mean, I've spoke about this on a recent podcast. You can go back to listen to that. Like I said, go back and watch it on YouTube. But I said they're currently making content, releasing it, and then pulling it within a year of releasing it, rather than pay the people.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, it's not bad behaviour.
But yeah, what they've become, like this push for original content is fine, but with Netflix, and you specifically mentioned Netflix, it's come at a cost of the content that they were buying. Now, part of that is because people have seen Netflix's model, which was a fucking loss-leading model.
Yeah.
It was a very false advertising of a model, and
it's
they've gone
almost like a pyramid scheme in a way.
a little bit, but they've
To a
gone, well, we
degree.
want a bit of that. So all the networks are like, well, we'll do our own. NBC did Peacock, Paramount Plus. You get, you said Disney Plus,
HBO Max,
so
Discovery.
suddenly all these shows that are available now are going to cost a lot more if you want them, and they're like, well, fuck them, we'll just do our own shows. But for me, it was like I never went to Netflix because I wanted to watch new shit. I went to Netflix because I wanted to watch.
Well, that's what it started out as, wasn't it? It was
it was an online alternative to video rentals.
Yeah, but they started off as a video rental company.
Exactly,
didn't they,
and then they moved into the online thing, and
Yeah.
it was like, well, it's the same service. You're just watching something that's
I think at their core, they're brilliant in terms of how easily accessible the content is, how quickly it streams. Like, you very rarely have a lagging connection.
But I also think it's slightly. I think it's overrated because of what it's done to the industry. So I do think, streaming's great and it's quick and it's all available. But because now everyone's branched off and they're like, oh, we want a bit of that pie.
Yeah.
To actually watch all the shows you want to watch, potentially, you're looking at signing up to however many different ones.
Yeah, you have to
and
be
it's
very
like,
selective.
I haven't got that
and
money.
it encourages illegal behaviour like pirating as well.
Yeah, it really, really does.
Yeah. So no, fair
So
enough.
for me,
you can say
overrated. What are you saying?
all of them except Disney, I would probably say overrated. Only because, like I said, I just think
The volume of content.
yeah, like it's got all my childhood stuff on there. It's got X-Men, it's got Disney, it's got loads of shows I like. It's got Sons of Anarchy on there at the moment.
But I'll say this in terms of, because they've got the
But
FX stuff and that.
Yeah, but in terms of like, but Disney have a
I'll
history
say
of
it.
not treating people
Oh,
properly.
yeah, no, do you know what? I saw a job came up recently and it was for Disney.
Right.
And I was like, fuck that, I don't want to work for those pricks. Like, that's the most heartless fucking corporation.
good
Given that
money,
they're all
though?
family friendly. It was decent money. It wasn't great money. It was better than I'm on now, but to be fair, I'm not on a lot of money. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, I can't work for that place. That's all. But I'll say it at risk of incurring the wrath of the Disney lawyers. Fuck Bob Iger. Pay your fucking people. Pay your writers. Pay your actors.
They've got the
fucking money.
They've got the money.
Yeah.
The money's there. Disney.
The money's there.
All of them. They're all behemoths.
Bob Iger earns like 72 times the average wage of a staff writer.
Yeah.
Or something. It's obscene. You can't sit there in that. You know, it is literally sitting there in the penthouse, rolling around in your cash, going, guys, we've just got no money.
No, look, they should pay their...
Wiping with your solid gold handkerchief. There's no money. Anyway, do you want me to hit you with an agree or disagree?
Please do.
So shall I just go through the food ones, or shall I mix in the non-food? You tell me. I'm going to say non-food or food. You tell me. Food. Okay. Restaurant burgers are too big in the wrong kind of way because they're too tall and they're not comfortable to eat.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's straightforward, right? They should be wider, not taller.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. You end up with like double the size of the actual burger with add-ons on top. And 9 times out of 10, I take those add-ons off. Like, even if it's stuff you like onion rings.
I was going to say I love an onion ring. I love putting an onion ring, but it's like salad,
when
bacon,
they've got to
cheese.
Put that thing through, the stick through, the bamboo stick to keep it standing, you've gone a bit far, yeah. I'd even rather have 2 burgers than have one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Give me 2 sliders or something.
It's just, who's that for? Who's that for? They're too ridiculous. If you want to get more in them,
and it just goes
wider.
in the bin, most of it.
They're too tall and you can't.
Yeah,
like I said, you have to take stuff out.
I have to agree with that. Game of Thrones.
As a TV series, as a books.
I haven't read the books, so I can't speak to the books.
So Game of Thrones.
Have you read the books?
I read like 3 chapters of the first book, and in true ADHD fashion,
no, from what I've heard about those books, a normal person without ADHD.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I was like, I would keep reading this, but the problem was it was at work, and I was like, I don't want to buy the book. Yeah. So it's just going to stay here. I was like, I'll keep it here as my workbook. Oh, I never touched it. I haven't even worked in that branch since, so that's just not happening. Someone called me up there actually about 2 weeks ago and was like, this book in the back, that's you, right? Yeah. You're going to read it? I've got to be honest and say at this point, probably not. But let's see, overrated, underrated. I think I'm going to say underrated because I think for a lot of people, myself included, the final season, in particular the back half of the final season,
it was
really ruined it for a lot of people. And now they look back on it, and still they'll look back on it and go, oh, it was shit, because they know how it ended, because they weren't happy with the ending. But I think then, because of the ending, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people dismiss the rest of the show.
Yeah, entirely.
So I think now it's become underrated.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it sort of changed what could be done with telly at the time. I feel like it was such a grand...
Made it glamorous. It made telly the place to be.
Yeah, and it had good actors in it. And they stuck with the actors for the most part. There was 1 or 2 changes here and there, but for most of it, they stuck with the actors. They learned from their mistakes to a degree. Like the pilot was horrific. Apparently, the first one they filmed.
Yeah, that's what you read. It'll never see the light of day by all accounts.
And apparently, George R.R. Martin was in that as well. He has a small role at the beginning. But no, I think you're 100%. Like I've watched it back a few times since.
You forget how good some of it is, though. The early stuff.
But the build up to the end, like
you forget how good some of it is.
At the time, I'd be texting you like, "There's a fucking zombie dragon, bro!" Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I got So like, there's some fucking epic stuff in it. So yeah, I think it's underrated. Yeah. I think because, like you say, the ending, it spoiled it for a lot of people.
And they forget
I think
how
that's
good it
similar
was.
to How I Met Your Mother as well, because that trailed off towards probably after season 5, maybe even season 4. But the ending was so bad that it spoiled.
That last season was not good for me.
No, it was a drag.
But I've recently watched a couple of early ones, and it's like, no, it was okay. Like,
it was fucking good at times. There's some really good jokes, storylines, character development at times.
Just that last season, it's a similar sort of thing. Okay, what do you want, food or non-food?
Non-food.
Video games are more fun when they're easy than when they're difficult.
For the most part, yes. There's some games where when they get challenging, you're like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. But me and Leanne were playing on her Switch Lite yesterday, and she was playing Lego Harry Potter, and the Lego games are so underrated.
They're brilliant.
But there's genuinely bits we were both just couldn't get past, and it was just like, and like Leanne gets more frustrated than I do.
But it makes you want to quit, doesn't it?
It makes you want to throw it at the wall.
Yeah. I mean, rage quitting is a real thing.
Yeah. So no, I think in general it's probably true. You do much more enjoy a game. Like I enjoyed FIFA the most in the beginning when I was winning like 4 or 5-0 every game against the computer, and then slowly as you improve, increasing the difficulty. But yeah,
but it's more fun when you're winning.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, right.
Loving these little like sound effects that kind of lead us from one to the next. These like
Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's an excellent one. I think a little bit overrated.
Yeah.
He's good.
I think he's very good.
What he's very good at is he picks his projects well.
Yes.
I think that's the greatest skill of when you look at some of the greatest actors in our time, their acting ability is good. But what really pulls them apart from the others
is the body of work.
Picking the roles, is the body of work.
Yeah, and he's worked with some of the all-time greats. I watched The Departed for the first time not that long ago.
I love The Departed. That's such a good film.
And it is such a good film. Like, you can't go wrong with Jack Nicholson in any film.
No.
Like, I watched A Few Good Men for the first time. I know Leo's not in that. But, like, just the bits of
Do you know what's
Jack
funny
Nicholson in that.
About A Few Good Men? So I'm talking about Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
So he directed... So his string of hits was like... When Harry Met Sally...
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've seen, but
I've not, but I know of it.
Fan of it. Harry Met Sally, Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
It's great. So you kind of see the body of work. And then he did A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
And that's one of his films. And it's just such a change in tone.
But again, a really good film.
Yeah.
But no, Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is probably slightly... but there was a period where everyone wanted him to win an Oscar, didn't we? We were all
It's because, again, but he just did a string of really strong films. So he did, like, The Revenant. And he did like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, he's doing something. He's cooking.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily. He's still good.
I think he's brilliant in Inception. I think that's a massively underrated film. I think he's got the body of work to back up being one of the big names.
But I think that's what works in his favour more than his ability to act. Is the project he's chosen.
Yeah, but he's like, there's famous moments that people talk about. Like, is it Kelly Rowland that was on Django Unchained? She was, is it Kelly Rowland? She was the wife.
Yeah, is that Kelly Rowland?
Is it Kelly Rowland? I feel like it's Kelly Rowland. She was the wife of Django in Django Unchained. And there's a scene in the film where he like has a skull in his hand, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he cracks it in his hand. And instead of like cutting, he just goes with it. And his hand's bleeding, and he just runs it down the side of the face of Kelly Rowland, and she's like absolutely appalled.
Yeah, I love a good unscripted reaction.
And I think those are like magic moments. And like again, like a bit with Jack Nicholson, there's a bit on Facebook where Matt Damon talks about him in The Departed, and a scene where they execute this woman, and just like how Jack Nicholson just has that
spark.
Yeah,
you never know what he's going to say.
Further, and he's like, and then we could do this, and then I could say this, and it's like some of the most vile shit as well.
Yeah.
He's like just so invested in the character. But yeah.
I'll go for that. Okay, food or non-food?
Food.
Boneless wings are just chicken nuggets.
Do you know what? I've never had a boneless wing.
I've never had a boneless wing. But just the idea of them for me.
It's that. Why are they boneless? What happened to the bones? How did they remove the bones? When were they removed? I've got too many questions. Just give me a chicken nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like
What's the point of boneless wings?
I sort of get it because the bones in a wing aren't nice.
I get it, but then like that's what I'm saying. It's basically just a chicken nugget once you've taken the bones out.
I would say it's closer to a chicken select or like a goujon.
But they're variations of a nugget.
I guess so. Wouldn't it be quite floppy?
I don't know.
A boneless wing.
Oh, the wings. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
it's cold in here, okay?
I don't care about enough it to disagree, so I would just say I agree.
Cool. You want to give us one of them?
Stephen Fry.
I'm going to say...
You're going to break my heart, aren't you?
I'm going to say overrated.
Oh, Jake. Why did you have to ruin a perfectly nice podcast?
I think he ruined himself. He did that.
How?
because he came out and just really backed the corner of J.K. Rowling.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And again, it's like, Steve, you didn't actually have to say anything on this topic.
No,
you could have just stayed out of it.
The problem is, though, he's the voice of Harry Potter for millions of people, isn't he? Because he did,
including, as we've heard recently, Margot Robbie.
Oh, really?
Loved listening to the.
Oh, she's a huge Harry
the
Potter
audio
fan,
tapes,
isn't she?
the Stephen Fry audio tapes.
Yeah. So like, he is the voice of Harry Potter for a lot of people. So I can, and he's close to J.K. Rowling from what I've heard, isn't he? So like, it's difficult because if you have said outlandish stuff in public, not transphobic, but there's questionable things you've said. As your friend, I know potentially your intent is not.
Yeah.
So I can understand from if he's close to her and he feels he knows her, that there must be something. Do you know what I mean? That in his head sort of not excuses her behaviour, but he can, I don't know.
But
maybe.
Equally, I think, and he hates it himself, that people sort of see him as this super genius.
I don't know if I see him as a super genius.
I will say this, he was great in, some of his acting is underrated. Him in Jeeves and Wooster, good. Him in Blackadder, good.
Him and Hugh Laurie together is just brilliant. There's a clip I love of Hugh Laurie having this ridiculous name where it's Mr. Nipple, but it sounds like a light being dropped on the table. And I think he's an underrated comedic actor. I think he is an intellectual, but I wouldn't say he's a genius. I just see him as sort of...
You're saying underrated then?
I feel like he's a national treasure that's just... I know he is sort of seen as that, but I feel like he should be seen as a sort of David Attenborough sort of level national treasure. So I think he's underrated.
It's good, though. It's good that we've come to this. Right, agree. Food or not food?
Food.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
A Chinese takeaway should be eaten individually, i.e. we eat what we ordered. This is not an agree or disagree, this is more an opinion one.
Yeah.
Or put in the middle and everyone dishes up whatever. Now, in this scenario,
right,
it's just either a couple or a pair of you, maybe a family of 3 or 4. Basically, there's enough in the portions to go round to each person if needs be.
When we were younger, I think we shared a little bit more. But I would say in general, we were a family of you ordered your dish and you had your dish. You ate your dish.
See, we were a family of...
You might be allowed to try a tiny bit of mine, but in general, keep your hands to your fucking self.
We were a family of plate up a bit of everything.
I think that's really disgusting behaviour. I think it's really selfish. I want what I want.
I'm selfish. You're over there with that big dick, not sharing it. That's selfish.
I do share it with my woman.
Oh well, yeah. Well done. She's the only one that can enjoy it.
Too right.
Selfish.
She owns this penis.
Selfish. Yeah, I've read her blog.
Yeah, she talks about it a lot.
I mean, a lot.
Yeah, you can't blame her.
A lot. I've just got a notification. Another blog post. Another one.
But I think, like, particularly Chinese is my favourite takeaway, hands down. And, like, I'm not a big sharer of food in general. I'm the sort of person, like, and Leanne will attest to this, if she likes something I like, I'll buy 2 of it. 1 for you, 1 for me, and then everyone's happy. Do you know what I mean? And she thinks that's really silly and laughs. And I'm like, no, because I will resent you sharing my quavers.
Not to go back to Gavin and Stacey, but you know, this is very Smithy.
I couldn't agree more than what Smithy goes in that moment. Like, they're like, oh, this is lovely. And he's like, yes, I know. It's why I ordered it. Like, and we've gone out for meals, for Chinese meals and stuff. And we've both agreed
going out to a restaurant, it's weird. I stick to what I eat.
No, but like, I think say we all had the lads round here and we have a Chinese takeaway, we're not sharing our food. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, when me and Ash go to Lindsay's, we both like some of the same stuff. Like, we both like egg fried rice. We both like chow mein. So we'll order 1 egg fried rice and 1 chow mein and have half each. Because otherwise, with everything we end up ordering, and we both like prawn balls, so we'll share an order of prawn balls. But I feel like that's different because we both want the same thing. But it's all mishmashing and no, fuck off. Have your food.
I eat it all, so I'm fine.
Yeah, that's because you're a greedy, selfish bastard.
I'm a fat boy.
And it sounds like your family are all exactly the same. But I love your mum and dad.
They're grateful for it.
Yeah.
Hit me with the best shot.
Oprah
Winfrey, as if there's another Oprah.
Yeah, there's only one Oprah.
Might be an odd way of saying opera.
No, just Oprah.
Oprah. It's a bit odd because she doesn't really translate across the Atlantic.
No, but we get like the memes.
I would say overrated.
I would have agreed. I think she's underrated as an actress.
Yeah, she's a very talented actress.
Like honestly, her performance in The Butler, I would recommend that film to. Like, it's quite hard to watch at times, like 12 Years a Slave to a degree. But her performance in it is at like I was like, fuck, she can act.
I think that was like her celebrity status.
Yeah, overrated. She's just like a posher
version doesn't offer
of
it.
Jeremy
She's just
Kyle. It feels like
she had a popular.
That's a bit harsh, probably.
Daytime TV show, but that was it. She hosted a TV show.
And I feel like she got famous just giving people stuff, which is there's worse ways to get famous.
Yeah,
and it's a good thing. But yeah, I think she's probably overrated.
I agree. I've got 3 more. Agree or disagree?
Well, should we just do one more because we're sort of at our.
I can just, but you can just. I'll do it right,
we'll
and you just go bang,
quick fire.
Okay, vanilla is the best flavoured ice cream.
Wrong.
Okay, Scotland is the best of the home nations to live in.
Correct.
XG, expected goals, is the worst and most pointless stat ever.
As an FM fan, I couldn't agree more. It really upsets me. If you have a game where you've got really good positive XG and like it's proper one-sided, you've had 30 shots on goal, 25 of them on target, about 10 have hit the woodwork, and your XG's at like 5 and your opposition wins 1-0 with an XG of 0.010, you just want to stab yourself in the face.
But when they do it on like Match of the Day and stuff, and they bring it up, they're like, oh, the XGs and stuff, they're like, oh, they're on this, and it's like, it means nothing. I've
heard it explained to me what it is like multiple times, and to be honest with you, I still don't really understand. So I think it's massively overrated. It just feels like a company made a reason to be relevant.
It's like, here's another stat we can promote.
Yeah.
Pointless. Don't like it.
Couldn't agree more.
Excellent.
Right. Shall we quickly rattle through a couple of mine?
Yeah, go on.
Jimmy Carr.
Underrated. I think people see him as a shock comic and whatever, but actually his ability to write a joke.
His newer stuff is not as good in my opinion. Like, I watched his Dark Materials and I didn't really understand the outrage at it, to be honest with you, and I also just didn't think it was that good.
I didn't even know there was outrage.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
I can't remember what the outrage was, but I remember it might have been a trans joke.
Don't know, but I would say Jimmy Carr, his ability to actually write a joke and write a set and work a room.
He's so quick-witted, and like he's famous for when people heckle.
Yeah, he oftentimes they think, oh, he just says the most outrageous things. But actually, he's a really clever comic.
I think for the amount he works, and like he talks about the amount of gigging he'll do, it would be unfair to say he's just a shock jockey.
Yeah,
because the amount of effort and work and time he puts into his set. So no, I would probably say underrated.
Go.
Anthony Joshua.
Oh, overrated.
Yeah,
he's proven that in the latter stages of his career.
He's done. Like he's fighting Dillian White. Like.
No disrespect, but when he fought, and I don't want to take anything away from, I can't remember what the guy's, Andy Ruiz?
Yeah.
No, not Andy Ruiz. No, it might have been Andy Ruiz.
Well, Usyk.
It's basically just a fat guy.
Yeah,
and he knocked him the fuck out.
Yeah, he won the title off of him,
yeah.
And then Joshua came back just being fitter and kept away from him.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Showing that in his latter stages.
It's sad because I think he had the potential
to be one of the British greats.
Yeah, but I remember seeing people like calling him out early on, saying he just hasn't quite got
it.
Yeah, whatever that
the
thing
full package.
Like Lennox Lewis had a certain edge to him. Mike Tyson had that edge to him.
Didn't he?
Tony Bellew had that edge to him. Like everyone thought Tony Bellew was going to get knocked out by David Haye, and he boxed the shit out of David Haye. So like you either have that like almost monster in you as a fighter, or you don't. That's why I'd have never made a good boxer.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
Absolutely.
And once again, it all comes back to the schlong.
Every time.
Go on.
Barack Obama.
I think probably rated. I was going to say underrated.
I think he's overrated.
I think underrated just because of the way people sometimes think about his healthcare act and stuff.
The man basically carpet bombed the Middle East like every day his entire time as the American president.
No, you're not wrong.
He dropped more bombs on the Middle East than anyone ever has.
No,
and everyone sees him as this peaceful.
You're not wrong.
What
He's like Tony Blair, but he got away with it.
Yeah, like the PR was on point. But in terms of, and I can't really articulate this properly because I'm not a black person, but what he did for black, like what it meant for them to have a black president, I think for that alone, he probably has to be underrated, but my gut would be
overrated.
But I think for the milestone, for what it means for black people everywhere, I think is phenomenal, that alone.
It's just unfortunate that, and it is really I've come to learn certainly in civil cases, it is one step forward, two steps back. Because as soon as you get a step forward, everyone looks around and go, "Where the fuck are you guys going?" And they push back.
Yeah.
And so, we've seen it with a lot of major issues, a lot of minority groups. That's what's happening. They take one step forward and then they get a big pushback.
And whatever.
But you have to keep moving forward.
Barack Obama did while he was in charge, he was followed up by Donald Trump, and that has to sort of say something as well.
That's exactly what it says. It's a pushback. Yeah. It's a pushback.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Shoot. Got any more?
Ricky Gervais. I know how you feel about Ricky Gervais.
Overrated. His jokes are really. I'm talking when we talk about Ricky.
I would separate as a stand-up from a comedic writer, perhaps.
Well, I would say this: when I look at his stand-up, you talk about Jimmy Carr being a really clever joke writer. The way he sets up puns, the way he sets up, blindside you. Ricky Gervais is really basic. A lot of his stuff is just recycled material from other comics. Then as a comedic writer, what I've come to realise after watching Afterlife, the first season of Afterlife was really good. I really enjoyed it. The second was okay. The third was shite. I felt so disappointed.
With the third one. Like, for me, one of the best characters in it was Roisin Conaty's character, the
just
prostitute.
Written out. I mean, she might have just been doing other things.
I think, from what I heard, it was to do with COVID and scheduling and stuff like that. But for me...
When I look at the good Ricky Gervais as a comedic writer, The Office, Extras, brilliant, had Steve Merchant. I look at some of the non-Steve...
He's like the secret source.
I think it's one of them. When you look at like Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon for Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland is this fucking madcap. I'm going to say some random shit. And then Dan Harmon comes in and goes, and there's a lot of controversy around Dan Harmon, but he comes in and he goes, that's bad, this is good, that's your show. And he needed that, because without it, it's just fucking shit. And I feel like that's the same. I feel like maybe the same thing's happening with Ricky Gervais.
And what's his face, isn't it? Who was his second?
Oh my God, Peter.
He played by Timothy Spall in the film.
Peter
something. And it's going to bug me. Should I have a quick look? Pad.
Yeah, you do it up. But for me, when you look at Ricky Gervais, maybe he comes out with some good ideas, maybe he comes out with stuff, but I feel like he wants to take it in a certain direction. And Steve Merchant was maybe the energy to go, no, this is the joke, this is what's funny, let's be consistent, let's keep it on brand.
Peter
Taylor. I don't think he's done that. So for me, and people look at him and he's like, again, they're like, oh, he's the shock jock, he says things, that no one else is willing to say. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean they're funny. Or they're good, or they're clever. I think
he can be funny. I've definitely enjoyed some of his stand-up. I don't think it's the best, but I loved him at
his
the
early
Golden
stand-up
Globes.
was alright. I enjoyed it. But
I think he definitely has funny moments. I think he was very good at the Golden Globes.
Maybe he just doesn't have that hunger, and that now that he's achieved so much, maybe he doesn't have that hunger and drive. Because his early stand-up, I did enjoy.
Like, he's not going to be going down the clubs anymore. He's not going to be doing
work in progress shows.
Yeah, no, he does do work in progress shows, but they're in like big venues. They're not an unlisted spot at a local club.
And you still get all the biggest comedians in the circuit still go and do
some, like, when these comedians get to that level, they don't have to anymore. People will show up and enjoy it regardless. So I think you're right. He probably doesn't.
I think maybe he doesn't have that hunger and that drive, because when you look at the shows, they're not as good as they were when he was younger.
Yeah.
When you look at his stand up, like I said, his early stand up I quite liked, but now it just, like I said, it just feels lazy, and it feels like maybe it's just he doesn't have that drive, and he is just hashing, recycling old shit, and it's like, oh, whatever, that will get me through a tour.
Yeah.
That's an hour of material.
Yeah.
That's 6 episodes of a show.
No, definitely. I think you're probably right. Most of his best work. I loved the first season of Afterlife, and like you say, the second one wasn't bad. The third one,
garbage. It was garbage. I genuinely was at a point round about episode 3.
It touched a lot of people though. At the same time.
But around about episode 3, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to finish this. I mean, I'm going to, because I know it's the last.
Kerry Godliman played his wife, and that performance again is fantastic.
If I didn't know that it was ending there and then, and I thought it might go on for 4, 5, 6 seasons, I don't think I'd have finished that 3rd season. It was that bad for me that it was only because I knew it was the end. I stuck with it.
I just didn't like the ending.
I was like, I want to see whatever payoff there is, and there wasn't one. It was shite.
No,
but the whole season was bad, and I wouldn't have stuck with it if I didn't know it was the end.
Yeah, that's fair. Right, well, I think we can call that a pod.
We did it.
Now, anybody, we'd love to know whether you agree, disagree.
Underrated, overrated.
Yeah. What did we get wrong? What did we get right? You know, is Ricky Gervais a genius, or is Stephen Fry transphobic?
Or is you know, where do you stand on the Chinese takeaway?
Yeah, you shouldn't be sharing.
I think as a takeaway, if there's enough
And
of you,
also,
if it's a small enough group, 2 or 3, anything more than that, let's not be dipping in. If you're in groups of like 5 or whatever, don't even bother. Not happening. But 2, 3, maybe 4 at a push. There's enough to go round.
Maybe.
There's enough to go
with
round.
Your missus, maybe.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You know, in a pair,
maybe
you're all right.
Maybe
You're all right.
I'd let her try a bit.
Are we talking about the food, or because it always comes back to your penis? It
Both.
always.
But if people want to know about my penis, Jake, tell them where to go to.
Okay, so if you go onto this website called OnlyFans, no, where can they go? They can go to Twitter at Swords Crossing.
Yeah.
They can go to Facebook, just Crossing Swords. They can go to Instagram and TikTok at CrossingSwords_podcast. Really had to think about them for a second. Really had to think about it. And you can email us crossingswords19@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Crossing Swords and the name of the episode, a link to which will be provided in the description of every episode uploaded. So wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're listening to our smooth dulcet tones right now, or our really animated, passionate tones about food, then you can follow the link and watch our sexy faces as we get really passionate. And you can try and just see if you can see a hint of an outline of a schlong. Just a little bit of an outline.
That was, much like my trousers, seamless.
I appreciate that.
Take care of yourself, guys.
Bye.